Hi everyone, it's Roger here from what's on DisneyPlus.com with this week's Q&A video. Now all of these questions come from our supporters either on Patreon or YouTube channel memberships, and you can become a member from as little as $2 a month. As part of that there, you also get to ask questions for these videos. You also get early access to some videos. For example, we've just put up a Hocus Pocus review today that will be available for everyone next week. They also get shout outs and they get the little names at the end of some of our videos. But moving on from there, if you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news, and let's jump into it. Joshua asked on YouTube, do you consider it a possibility that Disney, rather than organically growing its content as it's doing at the moment, would change its tack and bring in the streaming side of things front and center, that they could look at making some acquisitions to bolster its library of content? In the last year, it was rumored that Disney were looking at the WWE library. Perhaps they would even consider looking at whether ITV is a possibility, considering it as a large library and also a good distribution network, or dare I say Crunchyroll. Although it does strike me that Disney still does not want to get involved in gaming at a time like this, I would have thought that Disney would perhaps look at whether they can work with either EA or Sony in some sort of collaboration to boost their income. So we've got a couple of different things to jump into as far as boosting its content. That's something that they're already doing. Clouds, for example, that just dropped on Disney Plus on Friday, was actually created by Warner Brothers and it got picked up by Disney. Disney are out looking for stuff that's suitable. I mean, all the different platform holders are trying to keep stuff for themselves, but they're also trying to buy other content, and it's kind of a goldmine out there at the minute for some companies just to be making stuff and then they go and put it out there at different events, and then these streaming companies are picking them up. So yeah, they're definitely looking for stuff. They're going to be picking things up, but obviously it has to fit the right mode for Disney Plus. But yeah, Clouds was the one. Also, the Diary of a Future President was actually made by CBS, so we're seeing more of this, and I think we're just going to see a lot more of it, especially with some of those Disney Junior shows. Things like Gigantosaurus and The Miraculous and Ladybug actually aren't made by Disney, they're made by somebody else. So yeah, I definitely think we're going to see much more of that. As far as kind of getting into gaming, Disney are very bad at doing this. We've been covering video games over on Disney Kingdom. We've been doing that since way back in the Disney Infinity days, and I love video games. I'm currently playing Star Wars Squadrons, but Disney is just no good at it. And so what they've found is that if they license out and get the right people to make the right games, it's a lot better. Personally, I'd love to see them do it, but they've tried it on a number of occasions. They just suck at making video games. They can't seem to get it right. I don't know if it's because the guys at the top don't quite understand if there's like one failure that will get shut down, and they don't view it the same way as movies. So they seem to just sort of tie it in with like products. So just, we'll give it to them. You know, Capcom make a good fighting game, this company do that. I mean, if you played like the Square Enix Avengers game, you know, it's not amazing, it's okay, but I think we're just going to see a lot more of that third party stuff when it comes to games. As far as buying at content like the WWE or ITV, I don't think so. I think right now they might be just concentrating on trying to get everything sorted with their 20th Century Studios. They might pick some bits and pieces up. As far as the WWE one, I think that one there, and I am wearing my Seth Rollins t-shirt, so that one's kind of interesting for me. I don't think that will be happening because I know they were trying to work something with ESPN, but it wouldn't surprise me if the WWE actually does something completely different than what they're doing with their network, which I do subscribe to, because they might be able to get more money running it on somebody else's platform like Netflix or Amazon or ESPN Plus. So we could see something there, but I don't think it'll be a WWE thing on Disney Plus. It's more likely to be on ESPN Plus or something like that. Like there's a massive deal with UFC is massive for ESPN Plus. Joshua also asked, with a number of cinema chains in the US and around the world on the cusp of going out of business, there are some reports from some of the studios may try and step in and bail them out, which I believe they're now able to do after the repeal of the Paramount decrees. Universal and Paramount have tried to distance themselves, but with the others, including Disney, have been silent. Do you think, considering how much money Disney tended to get from cinema chains, they may try and buy a stake in one of them as a form of long-term investment when the cinemas come back? I think this is a really good idea, and I think this could work on a number of levels. Disney could buy out some of the chains, whether or not they have as many as they are, but right now, again, it's all going to come down to money of whether or not they think they could do it. As far as maybe them joining together and buying out AMC or something like that. I don't know, because they generally don't seem to work too well together, and there's going to be conflicting things of who gets the dates. I could see some of the studios maybe getting involved as partners and maybe buying a 50% stake or something like that to kind of keep them flowing. But there's also that other idea of maybe at this precise minute, and it's the same not just for cinemas, but for every industry right now, shops, restaurants, pubs, etc., that we're just seeing, we're going to have a cull of places because there was maybe too many of them beforehand, and this will kind of trim them down. I know, like in my local city, they were building another one, and they had like 3 or 4 cinemas, and often when I'd go, it'd be empty, other than the big like Friday nights and stuff. So that's the one thing. I think Disney could very easily do it, but right now, it would be a way of securing their future and stuff. But I think streaming and everything it's different. But did Disney want to buy that many studio things and then make money off of Universal and stuff? Then it's all going to get very complicated. But I could see something happening. Whether or not they all join together and save one of the studios, or one of the cinema chains, I don't know. But it's going to be a rough and bumpy 6 months to a year ahead, especially over here in Europe, with things kind of all sort of shutting back down again. Yeah, it's going to be really bumpy for them. I Got No Name asks, when is the Investors Day? So good news is for that is it did get announced this week. It will be coming on December the 10th. And I Got No Name also asked on YouTube, why doesn't Star just release in 2021 in the US where people are used to new streaming services? Now, with regards to Star launching in the US, because that's going to be this new streaming service which contains ABC, FX, 20th Century Studios content, which is probably going to be a part of Disney Plus somehow, but we'll find out on the Investors Day. Now, with this one, if they bring it to the US, they've already got Hulu, so they're basically just cutting into something they already own, and Hulu's going to need all of that content to survive. Basically, Star is the version of Hulu internationally. It just doesn't have all the licensing deals and the TV streaming and all the rest of it. But Hulu, in a few years' time, is going to be so dependent on that content from ABC, FX, etc. to boast out what it is, because that's what it's going to need to do, unless they do some other stuff with Hulu. But yeah, the idea that they can't really launch it too well because they just kind of be cannibalizing the things. It would make more sense to do basically Hulu's going to and Star are going to be very, very intertwined anyway of how it all works, but we'll hopefully find out more on that Investors Day in December. Jacob asked on Patreon, can you talk about who owns the rights to different shows? Is it the television station or the studio? Is this always the case, or are there notable exceptions? Do you think this is going to be changed in the future? Wow, this one is a massive one, and in all honesty, I couldn't answer that one because there are so many different conflicting things of, every time you think of a TV show, if you generally, if you put it into Wikipedia, you'll get told who has distribution rights, because sometimes it's even different depending on the country, and now they're much more aware of the rights of stuff, but the sort of the older ones back, they had to redo deals. Yeah, that one is really difficult to kind of pinpoint down to individual ones because every show is different. For example, you got Bunked is currently on in Netflix in the US. Everywhere else it is available. It's just a deal that was signed, and yeah, as far as the television networks and stuff, it's a bit different, I think, really from the point of view of most of the Disney stuff, because they've been kind of keeping everything on ABC and stuff for a long time, and the Disney Channel hasn't really got that issue. But yeah, so it's a very, very complicated one, and every single series seems to be a bit different, but a lot of it is going to come down to it's just such a complicated thing with rights. For example, the Goldbergs are made by Sony, so it's on ABC, but it's very complicated. But now everyone just wants to hold on to all that IP. Jamie asked, on the recent podcast, you said about animations are being made at home, and do you think we could get some animation series a little bit quicker? Now, yes, right now, animation is one thing that's been able to continue to happen right through lockdown. Obviously, getting things at sets and bringing people together is just more risky. So doing animation is meant that they can carry on. Things like Soul, for example, still had 7 weeks left of production to do when that one thing sort of came to a head. Yeah, animation right now is probably quite a safe bet and something that they can continue to make it from home, and yeah, we are going to see lots more of it, and I think especially right through this winter and going into next year we will see more of this, because ultimately the virus isn't going away and they're going to continue to have to make content, and animation is easily one of the kind of ways that they can carry on. Everyone can still work from home doing it, whereas with studios, you know, if you have a test and everyone gets sent home, with animation you maybe only got one person, and even if that they might have the test, but they can still maybe work from home because they feel okay. So it just means that things can keep going. So I expect we will see a lot more animation going forward over the next few years. Joseph asked, just noticed a few days ago that the X-Men had some merchandise out on the Disney UK website and stores. Does this mean that the animated reboot may be happening? As I get now, Fox movies are done. They can probably now promote the X-Men brand now. As it just makes me think, Roger, Disney never marketed stuff unless there's a show or something coming out. What do you think? Now, the big thing really is, for a while, Disney and Marvel weren't really promoting X-Men stuff because of the Fox deal with the movies, and they didn't want to promote those characters. Obviously, now that is all gone, and therefore they own it, and I think a lot of it is just the fact that it's retro and people like it. I mean, the animated series like XMen and stuff, I mean, I've got a load of the action figures here. I love that series. Used to record it on my really knackered out VCR and Betamax machine on a Saturday and Sunday mornings when they used to air over here. A lot of it is just building in on that retro stuff. Will we see a new animated series? I hope so. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it. I kind of would like, in some ways, I'd like them to kind of just start from scratch and do something new, but kind of go back to those animated series. But I think a lot of this stuff with just the X-Men now, Disney don't need to worry about it. Wolverine's a big enough character. You know, we recently saw him in Fortnite, and they're just probably just putting that out there now that they own this stuff. They can do what they want. They don't have to worry about it. Wolverine and the X-Men and characters like that, they no longer have any issues with regards to promoting them because they ultimately don't have that. They don't have that conflict of interest anymore, and that's open where it is. But I must admit, I did see that stuff myself because I usually go on the Disney Store website a couple of times a week and see what's new on there. It's just a habit of doing the Disney Kingdom website where we talked about collectibles and stuff. It's just a habit of kind of getting into it. And as you can see, I do love my collectibles. But nevertheless, go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Remember, you can join as a Patreon or a YouTube channel membership to ask these questions and get other benefits as well. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.